Joining us now, ranking member of the Homeland Security Committee, Democratic Senator Claire McCaskill of Missouri. Claire, great to see you.
Good morning.
Good morning. Here's President Trump yesterday in Iowa. He said Democrats will never support any health care bill. I want to hear your response, but first, listen to him.
If we went and got the single greatest health care plan in the history of the world, we would not get one Democrat vote because they're obstructionists. They're obstructionists. If we came to you and said, here's your plan, you're going to have the greatest plan in history, and you're going to pay nothing, they'd vote against it, folks.
I mean, I'm not sure really how to formulate a question out of that, but your response.
Well, that's
please.
just dumb. It's just dumb. I mean, of course we want to fix health care. Many of us have been trying for several years to put fixes in place that would stabilize the individual markets. But our colleagues were interested in using Obamacare or ACA as a political 2x4. They wanted to win elections with it. Because healthcare is hard, and obviously we made mistakes, and things do need to be fixed.
Sure.
But this notion that we don't want to work with them, I think I have, you know, he's every cabinet person he puts up. Many of us have voted for several of them. I think I've voted for more of his cabinet nominees than I voted no. We want to work with him on infrastructure. There's not obstructionism going on here. There is a failure of this administration to forward enough nominees to keep us busy, and there's also a failure of the Republicans to want to work with us on either health care or tax reform.
So a draft of the Senate health care bill is going to be released online at 11 o'clock. You guys get to see it for the first time. I guess the Republicans do at 9:30. When will you be able to get your eyes on it? What's your plan in your office to try and get your head around this thing?
Well, we'll be all hands on deck trying to digest what we get sometime before noon today. I know the Democrats are going to gather on the floor at about the time that we'll finally get a look at what they're proposing. But we remain very concerned that the amendment process is going to be limited because of the rules of reconciliation that they're using. It is very worrisome that we're going to have such limited debate. It's very upsetting that we're not having hearings and we're not being able to change the bill in committee as the Republicans did on the Affordable Care Act. So we will be looking at it, but one thing we know for sure, it's going to be very similar to the House bill, and this is a tax cut for the very wealthy, paid for by cuts to health care money in the United States of America.
Sam Stein.
Senator, hi. It looks like a 50-50 proposition at this point that the Senate will pass their health care bill with strictly Republican votes. You can quibble with the percentages here. About a couple months ago, there was some talk, led primarily by Senator Bill Cassidy, about putting together some sort of compromise legislation that obviously wouldn't give Democrats what they wanted, but wouldn't be a full repeal and replace of Obamacare. And Democrats made the conscious decision to not partake in those talks. They said you have to take repeal and replace fully off the table before we join the table. Was that a mistake? You might end up with a strictly Republican-authored bill. You could have potentially had something that was far more moderate, but you chose not to do it.
Well, I'm not sure that we would have had something that was far more moderate because there were not enough Republicans that were interested in avoiding the repeal and replace reality. So I'm not sure that was a viable alternative. What is a viable alternative is if this bill fails, if they make changes in the Senate and pass it and it's not acceptable to the House, because remember, they have no margin for error in the House either.
Yeah.
I mean, this is a razor-thin effort they're trying to put together here because they don't want it to be bipartisan. They don't want it to be a compromise. Then I think if it fails, we're in a really good place to come in and fix. I mean, my bill, which I'd love to see us get a vote on, is allowing people to have the option, if they don't have an insurance company in their county, let them buy on the same exchange with their subsidies that members of Congress use.
Yeah.
Our staffs are all over the country. These are national plans. What an elegant fix that people could come and use use the same process that members of Congress and their staff use to get health insurance. I think that would be a very difficult bill for people to vote no on.
Senator, it's Willie Geist. Good to see you this morning, as always. You just acknowledged
Thanks.
a couple of minutes ago, and have many times in the past, that Obamacare is not perfect, that mistakes have been made in the development and the implementation of it. As you know well, Blue Cross Blue Shield of Kansas City pulled out, fewer choices and costs going up in many of the counties that you represent in the state of Missouri. So where are specifically the imperfections in Obamacare that you actually think could be changed without wholesale repeal?
Well, I think we could think about having even a lower plan that is truly for catastrophic care. That would bring in, I think, even more people because it would be even less expensive. I think we could change some of the rules about how many employees you have in terms of requirement. Obviously, this is the challenge, and it's the individual market challenge that we're trying to get enough people in the pool that brings down insurance for everyone. And Willie, the thing that people need to remember is we're going to continue to give care to people in America if they don't have insurance. We're going to continue to pay for it. It's just everybody's going to continue to have higher and higher premiums because those uninsured that are showing up at the hospital, those costs are just passed on to everybody who has insurance. The hospitals don't absorb those costs. We pay for those costs. So this is really the dilemma of how do we get more people in the pool. And I actually think the individual market is not as bad as people say because the vast majority of people on the individual market are getting subsidies. In my state, it's only 0.5% of people on the individual market are not getting subsidies. So those price increases are not as significant.
You're talking, Senator, about modifications to the existing Affordable Care Act. What many Republicans are talking about is repeal, and it's what they promised to many of their voters in November. Do you think with that thin margin, you know the Senate better than any of us, 52 Republicans, they can only afford to lose a couple of them. Do you think this will get through the Senate right now?
I would kind of agree with Sam. I think it's a coin flip. I think it's 50-50. It depends. I think the talking point is going to be, oh, this is better. Well, it's not going to be better. And here's the thing that's driving me crazy. Why do we need to give rich people a tax break right now to take health care away from Americans? What is the deal there? I mean, why does the 1%, the 1% in this country is doing great. My family doesn't need a tax cut. What we need is to make sure that people can get Medicaid. 64% of the people in nursing homes in this country depend on Medicaid dollars. Rural hospitals depend on Medicaid dollars. So why are we giving money back to the rich in order to take health care dollars out of the system? It makes no sense to me.
Elise Jordan?
Senator McCaskill, switching gears a little bit, an area where you are in support of the Trump administration is their proposed arms deal to Saudi Arabia. Can you explain why you support more arms for Saudi Arabia at this point in their civil war with Yemen?
Well, I will tell you that the reason I supported that is the same reason I supported arms sales under President Obama. Nothing would be more partisan or more hypocritical than me saying, well, when Barack Obama proposed arms sales to Saudi Arabia, they were fine. But when President Trump proposed arms sales to Saudi Arabia, they're wrong. And it was that reality that caused me to cast my vote for the arms sales to Saudi Arabia.
So just to follow up on that, you do think that the United States should be picking sides in this proxy war and should pick the side of Saudi Arabia?
Well, obviously, there's more to our relationship in terms of our national security with Saudi Arabia than just what's going on in Yemen. And I don't approve of what the Saudi government is doing in Yemen, just like I don't approve what Qatar is doing as it relates to funding extremists. But we have thousands of American soldiers in Qatar. We sell aircraft and weapon systems to Qatar also. I mean, there is lots of examples where we need to maintain relationships and allies in a larger context than just what's going on in Yemen. I think it's disgusting. The people that have lost their lives in Yemen. But there is a larger strategy to selling arms to Saudi than just what's going on with the Houthi rebels in Yemen.
Mike Barnicle.
Senator, let's stipulate that the health care bill is critically important to this country's future. And let's stipulate that everyone ought to be concerned about the potential collusion with regard to Russia in the past election. But what is your level of concern about the Cardinals? They're 33 and 37. They're 4 games under 500. You're approaching the All-Star break. You need a power bat
You're
in the
killing
outfield.
me, Barnacle.
I know. That's
You're
what
killing
I'm here for.
I know. I knew I would. I thought maybe since Joe was off preparing for his big rock and roll stardom, that maybe I'd get through this without a reality check on the shortcomings of our bullpen. We are struggling in the 8th and 9th innings. We are having way too many runs scored in the 8th and 9th innings. We won last night, and it's ain't over till it's over. Barnacle, be careful, because if I know my Cardinals will come roaring back after the All-Star break.
Well, I hope so, for your sake.
Senator Claire McCaskill, thank you very much. Joe, thanks
Thank you
too.
Thanks for checking out MSNBC on YouTube, and make sure you subscribe to stay up to date on the day's biggest stories. And you can click on any of the videos around us to watch more from Morning Joe and MSNBC. Thanks so much for watching.